Welcome in to the PHNX Suns show live from Circa. It is an NBA Summer League edition where it's the only time on this program I have to ask, am I showing too much feet for free? I am Espo. That is Saul. That is Gerald. Gentlemen, I know you guys did a show here yesterday. I've been on vacation here.
Welcome to the casting couch.
I love Circa. I love that we decided to go live from Saul's room because unlike other shows on the ALLCITY network, we're all in right now. We're doing it from here.
There's no days off.
No, there's no waiting for the studio space. We find a couch, we do the damn show.
That's
right?
it. Hey, listen, life goes on.
Look,
you got to make moves.
Yeah, we get the deal done. And speaking of getting deals done, the Phoenix Suns got one done with Josh Okogie yesterday, as Shams Charania broke on Twitter. 2 years, $16 million for one Josh Okogie. Read it, right? But when you look at this deal in totality, with it only being 1 year guaranteed, I think this was a savvy move by the Suns.
I think so too. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to, it makes sense. As a second tax apron team, you have to find ways to create trade flexibility for yourself, and you have to find ways to get talent with more than just the vet minimums that you have. So we knew going into the summer that re-signing their own free agents would be a way to do that. And I know a lot of people are looking at the roster like Josh Okogie is that 15th roster spot now, and they're like, wait, that's it? That's all that we did? We're basically running it back. And we've been trying to tell you guys for a while, like, trade flexibility, there's not a lot. Free agency, all you have are vet minimums. And we've been telling you, we've been reporting on this podcast for weeks now that, like, they are aiming to bring Josh Okogie back. They have competition for his services. They're going to sign him for more than the vet minimum. The only person this is affecting is Matt Ishbia's pockets. Like, that's it. Josh Okogie got a $5 million raise, basically, which is good for him. The second year of the deal is non-guaranteed. Like, what are we upset about? I don't understand.
I mean, we're just being upset to be upset is basically what it boils down to is, you have the crowd out there that's like, oh, my God, why couldn't they have used that $8 million on somebody else? That's not how it works. You couldn't. He was the only guy that you could have offered that much money to because you had his rights. That's it. Point blank, end of story. Outside of that, you have $2 million you can go play with all over the market. Go ahead, crazy. And they couldn't find anybody that they felt like fitted what they wanted to get done. So I agree. I think it's a shrewd move. I also thought it was a good move to just make sure that you have the opt-out in year two, because if you can't, if Josh Okogie doesn't perform this year and you can't find a way to get rid of him, then why keep that salary and the tax liabilities that come with that next year? So I thought it's a shrewd move. I thought it was a very good move.
I think the only guy that could be upset in the whole thing is Josh Okogie because he's trade bait and it's obvious, but he got $5 million out of the deal. So why would he even be upset on top of what he was going to get as a vet minimum, or if he had opted in to that second year guaranteed? So I don't understand. I get it. Look, you need more shooting. Well, that you weren't going to find that at a vet minimum price any more than what you got. Everybody, Saddiq Bey. Well, Saddiq Bey signed for significantly more than the vet minimum. A lot of these names that people wanted, you weren't getting at a vet minimum. And they go, it's because it's the Suns. No, it's because these guys had more lucrative offers, and some people decide to take the money rather than the opportunity, and you can't do anything about this. When they brought in Matt Tellem, we knew he was going to be a guy that found these loopholes in the second apron to try to find a way to get you additional talent. This is one of those loopholes that you can go above and beyond what you have for these bird right guys, and they're utilizing that to eventually, if Josh Okogie isn't a productive member of this lineup in the way that you might hope, you then try to find a way to package him with some of those picks that you also acquired in the draft or your 2031, and you make a move. I think what this really says is Matt Ishbia's all in.
Well,
Again.
Yeah.
I mean, does he have to continue to prove it? Like, I feel like listen, there should be no doubt that Matt Ishbia is all in, trying to do whatever he can to get this franchise a championship. Like, that's not even like, we're not even blowing smoke up anybody's ass. That's just the fact. Like, look at what he's doing. He's spending a lot of money. And the fact that people are upset that maybe Okogie got $8 million or maybe they feel like Royce O'Neal got paid too much and all this other stuff, like, it's irrelevant. And like I was telling these guys earlier today, it's like being mad at somebody for spending a lot of money at poker and then they crap out. Like, okay, I don't give a shit. It's not my money. Like, okay, let's move on.
Right, and it's one of those things where we covered this earlier in the offseason, but it's worth reminding people, like, they were going to be a second tax apron team no matter what they did with Royce, with Grayson. Like, just having $150 million wrapped up in the big three, they only had, like $30 million to go, $40 million to go until they got to that line. They were going to cross that no matter what. So at this point, you are spending and you're sending a message to other prospective free agents in the future, like, hey, if you come here, I'm not going to be afraid to dip into the luxury tax to reward you if I feel like you help us win or I feel like you contribute something here. And that is kind of the way around the second tax apron. You look around the league, look at how many teams have been desperate to duck that second tax apron at the expense of their team. We just saw the Nuggets for the second year in a row lose a capable starter caliber player or a critical piece of their rotation just to get under that level. They're not going to be the same going from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to Christian Brown to try and avoid that second tax apron. The Clippers, like, you could argue they needed to dismantle that whole thing anyway, but they definitely used the second tax apron as their reasoning for, you know what, Paul George, we're not going to offer you as much as Philly or some other team wants to give you, so you should go somewhere else. Like, I understand people, you can say what you want about the state of the roster, but this is the best avenue to being able to make moves down the road, because as a second tax apron team, you cannot take back more money than you send out, and you can only send out one Suns player in a trade at a time. So that really limits your flexibility. So if you structure Josh Okogie's contract where it's an $8 million deal this year and next year is non-guaranteed, so whoever's trading for him is not obligated to keep him for the future, that opens up more trade possibilities for you.
Not only that, but like, listen, I think as the offseason has gone on, I think we all had, maybe not hopes, but we had this idea that, Nurk could be traded. Nasir Little could be traded. But the reality of the situation is that they were not as desirable around the league as you might have hoped in order to get some assets that you thought were more valuable. And because of that, you've had to settle in some kind of ways on a backup plan. And this backup plan is basically exactly what we've been laying out this whole offseason, is that you're going to bring a lot of the same guys back, and you're really going to hope and pray that Bud's system and accountability will be the missing link between last year and this year, and really the accountability from the players this season as well. And that's the biggest jump. If you don't want to play this game and you want to be under the second apron and you want to be able to trade and acquire free agents at will for whatever, then the only solution there is you're going to have to trade Kevin Durant and Devin Booker at the same time. Like, that's the solution, because you're not going to be able to trade Bradley Beal. Nobody wants that contract for that length of time. Those are the only two tradable assets, and obviously the Suns are not going to do that. So this is the game you're stuck with, and this is the team that you're going to have to hope develops in a variety of different ways outside of talent acquisition.
Who the hell roots for fiscal responsibility in sports? Like, I'm rooting for the spreadsheet. Can the accountant make it work? No, I don't give a shit, right? Because when you look at it, and Bobby Marks talked about this on Twitter yesterday, the Suns are going to be the first team with over $400 million in payroll, right? Wow. This is a far cry from where this franchise was. This is a guy that will spend anything it takes. And don't take our word for it on why Okogie was a smart move. I mean, Bobby Marks said the Okogie signing is smart and gives Phoenix an $8 million trade asset to use during this season. I mean, exactly what we said. And this is one of the the foremost experts when it comes to salary caps in the NBA.
Yeah, all the salary cap nerds are like, hey, wow, that's pretty impressive. Even if you don't think Okogie's part of the core, even if you think he's not going to be a playoff rotation player or whatever, it's the right move to make, and it's not a cheap one either. I think Okogie alone came with like $47 million in a luxury tax penalty just to go from $3 million to $8 million there.
Which is
so
insane.
It's not insignificant. Like, what he's doing should not be written off as like, oh, he's just trying to throw money at the problem. Like, no, he is spending to keep assets that they can actually move and structure those contracts for a specific reason.
And then on top of that, like this move is very, very good because, okay, let's just say Josh Okogie doesn't work out, right? It just is not fitting, and you're looking for a trade partner out there. Maybe there's a guy out there that's in the last year of his deal, is making, that $8 million range, and the team doesn't have high hopes that they can re-sign him, and you're going to get Josh Okogie, and maybe this team is not going to be in the playoffs either, so they have nothing to lose. You throw in maybe a second-round pick and Josh Okogie I'm sorry, you can't aggregate stuff. Oh yeah, you can do that, right?
You can send picks.
Send picks, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you send Josh Okogie and a pick or two to get this said player that you think is going to be able to help you out, because you have the opt-out with Josh Okogie anyway, and the other team that's getting him knows that. So there's a variety of flexibilities here that the Suns are trying to provide themselves to try and shore up this roster, and give themselves some flexibility to improve it as they move along. But again, at the end of the day, you need these players, Nasir Little, Nurkic, and Josh Okogie, to play reasonably well to be some type of an asset for somebody out there. Otherwise, this is just what you're going to have.
Well, I think you can sweeten Okogie or Little with a 2031 couple seconds. So primarily Okogie, because there's not years beyond this, and that's why they did this. And we'll take a look at multiple options here in a second. But I want to get to a super chat. Psycho Blue says, B-Ball Cthulhu sees Suns Twitter X freaking out about terrible spacing, but last year we loaded our team with shooters that forgot how to shoot. I agree with Gurr. Spend now to buy loyalty later.
Damn. No, but it is like, if you're a free agent around the league looking at this situation, you're like, damn, they just paid Josh Okogie $8 million a year. And yes, he could wind up being traded by the deadline or whatever, but he's still going to make his $8 million no matter where he is. So it's one of those situations where you look at this ownership, you look at this franchise. We've heard every single player that has come here talk about, yeah, it's a franchise that wants to win. The owner wants to win. He's willing to pay whatever it takes. This is not just lip service when every single new player that's coming here is saying the same thing.
One other super chat. Brian says, no Henny or today? PHNX going full DMVR on it? No, we put it under the table. Hey, we didn't want it installed shot, Well, we got our Henny.
I also, listen, folks, I didn't want to put it right here.
Right.
Because it looks weird.
Visually, not ideal.
Yeah, not
so
great.
I put it down. On
Look, we're in Vegas. We're having a good time. We got to get to a word from our sponsors, but we will talk about some trade options with Josh Okogie on the other side. But I want to tell you about our friends at Bet365. It's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, you're always going to find something interesting over there. And my favorite part about Bet365 is the early payouts.
Oh, yeah.
Because as Shane Diefenbach, the mustache behind the Mac, knows, bad beats happen in gambling.
They do happen.
But with your early payouts, you don't have to worry about
That's
that
not
as
my
much.
favorite part, actually.
What's
we
your
actually
favorite
have
part?
a little teaser for things that are coming down the road.
Right. Good.
Yeah, we got our own personalized custom bets that will be dropping as well. So you that see us dabble in the betting space in pre-games and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to just dabble in it the day of
And we
yourself.
can promise you none of Flex's bets.
None of Flex's bets will be there.
I'm going to give out some nasty stuff.
There you go. you're talking about bets, right? Not here at Fremont Street? Okay. All right.
That's a given.
So early payout offer for the NBA. If your team goes up 20 points, the team you pick to win a game, automatic win. Even if it's in a parlay, that leg, automatic win. Or if it was a bet, you win it, no matter what happens the rest of the game. Same with the NFL, NHL, MLB. They got all sorts of different things there. So right now, new customers can choose between two offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use the code PHNX 365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and choose between either a bet and get offer where you place a $5 or more bet and get $150 in bonus bets, which is what I did, or your first bet safety net offer by placing a bet of up to $1,000, and if your qualifying bet loses, you're going to receive a match in refund in the form of bonus bets. So download the Bet365 app and use that code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And then Saul, we're hiring right now.
We are hiring for a producer.
Indeed, we are.
There we go, Gerald. Look at that. And our friends over at Indeed are a great place if you're looking to expand your business, hire new people, find the best candidates possible. You can do it at Indeed, because we're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. It's basically a dating app for corporations. I mean, it's fun like that. So if you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. No more waiting for weeks to try to find somebody that matches what you need for your business. You're going to find the people you need at the time that you need it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get for the producer job with Indeed. So, you know what? Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard Indeed on this podcast. Again, Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Can I say something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to put a little plug out there since you just talked about
Mm-hmm.
jobs. We are hiring, obviously, a producer at the moment, and I think there's going to be some other things that are popping up in terms of career opportunities, but not just here. At AllCity, our mothership, as we continue to grow this company, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and a lot of people always reach out and they're like, hey, how can I get involved? How can I, apply for these jobs or whatever? Go to AllCity on LinkedIn, Indeed. The job postings will always be there. I feel like by the end of the year, we're going to have a flurry of job opportunities for people that want to be a part of our lovely company. So look out for that as we speak.
Including Suns beat writer. Sorry, Gerald.
Oh, damn. Oh, no.
Look, we talked about it before the break. We were talking about Josh Okogie's $8 million salary this year and guys that you could potentially target because this was a strategic move. We talked about Matt Tellem having been brought in to find these ways. They obviously looked at guys that they might want at the deadline and what they cost. Gerald, I know you took a look at some of the guys in this salary range. Who could the Suns potentially be looking at with this Josh Okogie salary?
Yeah, and I mean, two things before I jump into names specifically. I do want to preface this with the fact that I think the Suns, even though NBA Twitter, Suns Twitter does not value Josh Okogie in that way, the Suns, I think, do. And Mike Budenholzer does because you need point-of-attack defenders. They don't have elite defensive rim protectors on this roster. So you need, yes, we're optimistic about what Ryan Dunn is going to be able to do, but he's also a rookie. He's also going to have to prove himself. And I know Josh Okogie's shot can keep him off the floor at times, but you need that type of point of attack defender, even if he's a guy coming off your bench. So that's one thing. The other thing, stop getting mad at Okogie being back because he's higher up on that pecking order than a David Roddy, than a Nasir Little. Yeah. So if you are one of the people that feels like the Suns still have needs, and we'll talk about those in a little bit, those are the guys that are going to be traded or cut in some capacity. It's not going to be Okogie, so you're directing your anger in the wrong place.
Also, if you're angry about God knows what. First of all, you need Jesus. Second of all, don't go to Josh Okogie's Instagram and then try to put him on blast.
No.
I saw that and I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you think, okay, I'm sorry, they're a hypocrite. If I offered you $8 million to do whatever the hell it is that you do, am I supposed to go to your Instagram page and be like, you're overrated, F you, you suck, you shouldn't have taken that money? Like, come on, man, that's not fair to Josh. Josh is a good dude, and he's busted his ass. Okay, so he didn't have the best of seasons last year, and he got injured, and it kind of set him back a little bit. Like, but that's not his fault that he got paid. Like, stop.
Well, I know
that's just loser behavior right there, man.
I know what both of us make, and it's nowhere near $8 million a year. And we got that shit when this started.
That's true. As soon as we started this company, Saul and Espo are in charge. This is destined to fail.
Like
3 years later.
So why am I shocked that Josh Okogie is taking crap for
It's just
making
not fair
$8
to the
million? No, it
player.
isn't.
No.
But you know what? I mean, at some point, you got to block out the noise, I guess, because people are going to be mad. Just to be mad.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying that like you don't have to like you can not like it. That's perfectly fine. I'm just saying just don't go to his page and do that, man. That's just being a
going out of the way. It's fine to say, hey, he can't shoot, like, and be upset that you didn't add a shooter to the roster, but actively seeking this person to say you don't deserve what they just gave you.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's what they gave him, whether you think he was deserved or not. But you know what? That's the other thing too. I know we're sitting here saying they did this so they could trade him, but there is also a world where he comes in the first few months of the season, proves he's a pivotal piece of Mike Budenholzer's rotation. And maybe that's not the fact, right?
Yeah. And like if Monte Morris gets hurt, we've been talking about his ability to defend the point of attack. Suddenly you need a Josh Okogie. I know that the bench shooting is worrisome, but we kept saying going into this offseason, like the biggest difference from last season to next season is not going to be bringing in new faces or anything like that. It's going to be the big three playing like a fucking big three. It's going to be Mike Budenholzer coming in and holding everybody accountable. It's going to be an extra year of continuity with the same core intact. If you look at the core of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, that's a damn good six-man core. I know there are concerns about Nurk and all that stuff, but that is a core that you can compete in the playoffs with. If they have more familiarity, if they cut down on some of the stupid turnovers, if they take more threes, especially with those top 5 or 6 guys, you're going to be in a good spot for a team that won 49 games last year despite all of the bad shit that we kept harping on. So they're not in some terrible, like, irredeemable place. They're going to be fine. Whether they sign Josh Okogie to reward him, signed him for trade flexibility, or both, you're going to be fine with this deal. So everyone relax.
Well, let's take a look at that trade flexibility.
Yes.
Just because that is a big part of it. If you wind up in a situation where it may have nothing to do with Josh Okogie, it may have more to do with other things on the roster that happen. You now have a release valve, a opportunity to find somebody else that might be able to help. And you did the research on some of those names.
Yeah, I've got a ton of them here. I'll probably when I write about Josh Okogie
right now, I'm like, holy crap.
when I write about Josh Okogie later in the week, I will be sure to include all of these. But just skimming through a couple of them, and a lot of them are guys that have been signed this summer that we had mentioned as targets potentially, but maybe they signed for more in free agency. Like Trendon Watford, he's a good guy that came back to the Nets after all. Dyson Daniels, you'd probably have to attach a pick of some sort for him, but he just got traded to the Hawks. If he doesn't pan out in year one, or they're, who knows what they're trying to do, you just never know with some of these guys. Like the Hornets, they have Reggie Jackson now. What's Reggie Jackson doing in Charlotte? Probably not there for the long haul.
Nope.
Nick Richards, another guy we keep talking about. Dean Wade, a shooter for the Cavaliers if you want a shooting wing.
K-State, EMA, let's go.
Yeah. Simone Fontecchio from the Pistons, they just re-signed him, and I think his contract, the estimate is exactly the same as Josh Okogie's salary. So if you want kind of an underrated sharp shooting wing, he's another one. We're We're going to keep talking about guys like Nick Batum, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, all signed to deals this offseason that the Suns just missed out on those types of guys. Gary Harris, he's a little undersized, but his contract fits right underneath there, and he's a good defender, a good shooter. Jalen McDaniels from the Kings. Corey Kispert from the Wizards, like that's a guy that if you're Washington, you're rebuilding. You don't need a Corey Kispert. You can probably trade him for a pick and a Josh Okogie type. So these are all just examples of a couple of names. I know none of these guys are going to blow anybody away, but that's kind of the point. Like you're looking to add depth. You're looking to add shooting in case someone gets hurt. When you get to the playoffs, it's the same as when we were heading into the offseason. Your core kind of is what your core is.
I want to get a little bit into, and Gerald, you tweeted about this yesterday. You reported about how this may be the roster for the time being, right? That they're happy with where they're sitting. And all I keep hearing is, there's not enough shooting. That second unit, there's not enough shooting. But to me, this isn't hockey. You don't sub 5 in, 5 out, right? I don't know that I'm as concerned with the shooting portion of it as others are, because I think there's very few chances that you're going to have Josh Okogie and Ryan Dunn on the floor at the same time at any point. I think you're going to wind up spacing this out, staggering your starters with backup minutes, and then you brought in Monte Morris, who's a guy that can shoot. I'm not as overly concerned at the moment as some people seem to be with the re-signing of Josh Okogie from that standpoint.
I'm a little concerned about the shooting just because, and I think we're at the same place we were coming into the offseason as we are now. They need their big three to take more threes.
Yes.
It's on those guys to take more threes because, we know Grayson's going to get them up. We know Royce O'Neal isn't shy about shooting. It was never about the role players. It's about a mid-range heavy big three embracing the modern NBA and Bud being able to emphasize that and implement it into their strategy. So it was never about the role players for me, but I do think if you look at the bench, even if those big three guys are shooting, even if you're bringing Grayson Allen off the bench, the only proven shooters that you have coming off the bench are Monte Morris and Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal, whoever is in that group. The rest, it's okay, Ryan Dunn, we're hoping the shot is as good as everyone keeps saying it is, but we need to see it because we haven't seen any of it in real games to that point, and he's a rookie. Oso Ighodaro can't shoot. Mason Plumlee can't shoot. Yusuf Nurkic shouldn't shoot. You don't have a ton of spacing with the other guys. So I am a little bit worried about that. But you're right. It's going to come down to the big three. It's going to come down to how Bud staggers his lineups. And it does get a little more challenging if you don't have a lot of bench guys that can shoot.
That's the biggest question mark for me is how is Bud going to devise his system with these guys, and how is he going to try to get them to elevate within what he would like ideally to see, which is a lot more 3-point opportunities. But again, he was able to kind of disperse that a little bit just because you had such a heavy driver in Giannis in the Bucks, and he obviously he's not a 3-point shooter, and so that demanded so much attention when you have a guy like that. When you have KD, Book, and Beal who are mid-range shooters, and they clog up that kind of middle area, it doesn't really allow for a lot of spacing on the outside. So how are you going to mix that up? That's why we talked about Ryan Dunn. Is he going to be able to be that kind of, that diving kind of player that's going to be athletic at the rim and to draw a little bit more of a focus away from the perimeter to give these guys a little bit more access to the 3-point line? Or are you just going to be able to try and figure out different ways to scheme to get these guys a little bit more freedom on the perimeter? It's just going to be very unique, and that's the number one thing to me. It never mattered who we were going to get or who we were going to try and attain outside of maybe a LeBron James. It was always about, okay, it didn't work under Vogel, but you kind of saw the dysfunction from time to time within this scheme. How is Bud going to modify that? How is he going to shore that up? And more importantly than anything, I know Devin Booker and KD averaged 27 points a game last season. Fantastic for them. Great. Kudos. Hand clap. But at the end of the day, they got swept in the first round. What are those two individuals going to do to modify not their play, but really their leadership and holding guys accountable in order to take this team to another level and raise everybody else's abilities? Because I felt like last year, they, just as much as everybody else, were trying to learn on the fly as well. And because there was so much inconsistency coming from the bench, it just never really congealed. And so what are those guys, what did they learn this season that's going to take them to another level? And what kind of conversations have they had in terms of like, okay, fuck that, I'm not doing that again. This is the change that I'm going to make to try and make sure that we avoid these issues.
Well, I think you've seen part of it with Devin Booker committing to basically rebuilding his body. He's trying to get in the best shape of his life. I think we've seen him lock down early in the summer. That's going to play a part in it. Obviously, Coach Bud's system, but I think you look at that bench too, and you add Monte Morris, who's a guy that can actually run something with the second unit. You're not having a Eric Gordon be your point of attack in your second unit offense. You're not having him run point at some point. I feel like you can scheme a little bit more with your second unit. You can get some pick and rolls and lobs for Mason Plumlee where you feel a little bit more confident. I think there's opportunity there, but when you look at the roster, and we can leave shooting out of it because we talked about it a little bit, but what do you think is the biggest hole right now? If you had to make a move, say you had to cut a David Roddy and add one more piece, where are you looking?
Honestly, my biggest concern is still going to be in the front court. For me, it's Nurkic. What kind of Nurk are we going to get? Now listen, you talked about Booker working out. Like, Nurkic's worked out a lot, and he's dropped a lot of weight, and he's looking pretty thin and fit as well. And so I can't imagine that he left last season thinking, yeah, I'm satisfied with how I performed at the rim. Like, if Nurk improves his percentage by 5 to 10%, it's a game changer. But that just has not been who he is. So that's the biggest thing for me is like, okay, you can rely on a rookie like Oso, but Nurk is the guy that, to me, and Plumlee's efficient around the rim. I'm not as concerned about him, but he has other deficiencies that kind of cause a little bit of concern. It's always going to be about Nurk because he has been viewed as kind of this connector of sorts when the ball is not in Devin Booker's hands or KD's hands. Like, who else is out there trying to facilitate? It's largely been Nurk. And what's he going to do when he gets the ball down low? Can he be as efficient as this team needs him to be? Because you saw last year, they need him to be efficient around the rim. Right. Because when he's not, it's not as good a team as you would hope for by a mile.
Right, and it clogs up the spacing. It dissuades those big three from trusting him in the short roll when they get blitzed on those pick and rolls, and things can break down from there, and you can take those guys out of the equation if Nurk is not a threat when he catches the ball, because then you're succeeding. You're getting the ball out of those guys' hands, and the Suns are not able to punish you for it. So the finishing is a big thing, and it's tough because he's never been a good finisher in his career. So as much as I applaud him for like being he looks like he's in great shape, I don't know how much it'll translate, and so my concern is probably there. I don't know if there's a realistic way to upgrade that center rotation, because I think if you were going to trade Nurk, you might have had a better shot at least to do it this summer when teams still had cap space that could absorb him into, because now you're going to have to find a team that wants Nurk or that you're able to attach an asset to and still make the salaries work, because now teams they have to get to that salary floor. So you don't have teams that like have cap space during the season that can just absorb him in.
I do wonder because of the weight loss, and and obviously that's not taking into account any type of physical strength improvement. This is just visual. Like, I do wonder if he felt like he was weighed down, no pun intended, by the extra weight that he was carrying, and it made him maybe a little slower or less efficient, because what we saw him at the rim do a lot was try to draw a lot of contact. And typically you do that when you don't feel comfortable in your physical abilities to overcome who you're matched up against down low. And so I wonder if he felt that way and felt like he needed to get a little bit more explosive, a little bit more strength, and stop worrying about trying to draw that contact so much. absorb it and finish. Like, you got to finish. And that's the biggest thing that I hope that he's worked on this offseason is just you got to finish around the rim, man, because this inefficiency is not going to cut it. And it's not championship level.
Yeah, I feel like I might be in the minority here, but I'm concerned about that backup four. I know we're in positionless basketball, but it looks like Bol Bol is kind of penciled in as that guy.
The backup four?
Yeah, kind of behind KD right now. And, okay, I loved what we saw from Bol Bol in that second half of the year. I want to believe, I want to buy in, but we also know that he's been a question mark throughout his career. So if he isn't that guy, what are you doing? Are you just forced to play smaller at those times? Like, to me, I'm a little concerned on that because he's also one of the guys that you hope could be a floor spacer a little bit in that.
I think it depends on what. First, it depends on who you're going with as your fifth starter. Because if you're going with Grayson, then you are able to bring in Royce.
Yeah.
You're able to bring in Ryan Dunn. You're able to bring in Bol Bol at that option. So I think that gives you more flexibility if you start Grayson. If you start Royce, a little bit less. But I feel like because Ryan Dunn is 6'8", and he's a shot blocking, all-encompassing kind of defender, I think on that end you're okay. But yeah, the spacing, it would be great for Bol Bol to shoot as well as he did in Phoenix last year. Yeah. You kind of need him to do that if he's going to get minutes with a bench that really doesn't have a lot of shooting outside of Monte, Grayson, Royce, and Damian Lee, who, as we know, is coming off the injury. So you don't have a ton of options there. I think you can play Oso as a 4 because he's more switchable, and I think that might honestly be his best path to minutes. But again, I do.
But not a shooter again either.
But not a shooter, and that, I think I keep coming back to the shooting thing. Like, if I were to look at this roster and be like, we need one thing, it's still a 3-and-D wing for me.
I am very excited at the prospects of Bol Bol with Coach Bud.
Yeah.
I really am. I really feel like you could be looking at he's not the same type of player, but in terms of production, I think you could be looking at a Bobby Portis type of season when Bobby Portis basically led them, emotionally on the court en route to a championship in the finals. So I think Bol Bol brings that same energy inadvertently. It's not like he does anything spectacular. Like, his personality is not like, let's go. He doesn't hype up the crowd. He's just Bol Bol, and people love him.
Right.
And I think if he performs at a high level this season, which is not unreasonable. He had games. I mean, hell, he had 32 in Houston, and he was fantastic. And then he didn't see a fucking minute the next game. Sorry.
Thanks, Frank.
It's just PTSD. I definitely think Bol Bol could contribute to this team at a high level. And the versatility with Bol Bol is the other thing that I do think that it doesn't really necessarily matter who's going to be that backup 4 because Bol Bol can play such a versatile game from 5, 4, even 3 a little bit, that you're not too concerned about what that's going to look like because anybody that's going to be big and match up against Bol Bol is going to get the advantage on him for the most part outside of the height. Because physically he's just not going to be able to match up with a lot of bangers down low. So if you're looking at him to be that backup 4, yeah, that's going to be problematic. But they also have to match up with him on the other end, and that's the thing that he's got to take advantage of more than anything.
Yeah, a lot riding on his shoulders. Khalil, 2025, has a name that he's interested in. Says, hello, guys. Hope all is well. Should we keep an eye on Brook Lopez rumors? Also, what are the chances Dunn will start with Nurkic and Big 3?
Okay, so the Brook Lopez thing, I feel like his contract is too much. I'm pulling it up now just to make sure on that, but I feel like he's making too much money to bring back unless a member of the Big 3 was involved in that trade, so that would rule him out if that's the case. The Wi-Fi here is a little.
I want to say he was in the low 20s when I looked at it.
Which would be more than Nurk.
It was too much for Nurk.
Yeah. So if that's the case, you can't really bring him on. What was the second part of the question about Dunn?
Yeah. Do you think that Dunn could wind up starting with Nurkic in the Big 3?
He would have to really, really impress. They would have to be underselling how excited they are about this kid at this point. Because I'm excited about him too, defensively, what he's going to be able to do. And hopefully the shot is better than we are expecting. But for now, we haven't even seen him play Summer League yet. So my expectations are tempered. I do think there is something to the fact that, just like we talked about with Josh Okogie last year, Dunn's weaknesses are not as glaring if you do put the big three next to him, because as a cutter, as a slasher, as a screener and rim roller, he's a good finisher, and you can make up for the lack of shooting spacing with the ability to cut and do those types of things.
Yeah.
So 23 million.
Yeah, 23 mil. So Brook Lopez is out. But in terms of Ryan Dunn, like there is an argument if he is ready that he would be a better fit with the big three because all that spacing around him would make up for maybe the 3-point flaw. But again, he would have to really prove himself to get that opportunity.
Well, that path to the chance to prove he can shoot starts tomorrow night here at Summer League. And Michael Ramirez wanted to know, did you catch any Summer League games today? Number 1 and number 2 picks going at it later tonight. Bronny playing. Get down there. Well, the games started like an hour and a half before this. So no, we didn't make it out there, but we did watch that thrilling Orlando-Cleveland game from the Circa Sportsbook on the big screen. And let me tell you, it was Summer League basketball.
Hey, Orlando might be a force in the Summer League, all right?
They
Don't
won
sleep
by
on
like
them.
30, didn't they?
Yeah, they had like 2 or 3 guys drop 20, I feel like.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Summer League is it's a time-honored tradition, balding white guys. You always see those playing some Summer League games out here. So.
Gerald will be out there tonight watching some of the games. Then we'll be out there tomorrow.
All day. We're live noon tomorrow from Circa, and then right after that, we are spending the day at the Cox Pavilion and the Thomas and Mack Center watching lots of Summer League basketball and talking to all the big names around the league for you guys. We are going to take a break, but on the other side of the break, we're going to find out the question that Kay Adams asked Kevin Durant that led to an interesting answer. But I want to tell you about our friends over at Circa Resort and Casinos. We are here. We're actually in Saul's room. I'll let you behind the magic here. We're in Saul's room.
I mean, the magic is over
I
there.
mean, yeah,
What a crass individual Saul is. What a jerk.
First
But-
the couch thing, now this.
Well, but it's amazing. Like, literally, we're in one of their rooms, one of the regular rooms. We can do this production. You got a bed there, the full-size bathroom.
This
I love
actually
this.
pulls down to a
Yeah.
whole nother bed, too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so you
And
can have 2 king-size beds in here.
And you can pull on that. It's actually a slot machine above
Yeah,
us as
yeah,
well. So, I mean, look at that. But
And then you have a view of the stadium swim outside. It's
which
fantastic.
is one of the coolest things in Vegas.
3 level. You would think it's 118 degrees outside. Then who the hell would want to be out there? It's packed out there right now because as you all know, with the dry heat, you get in the water, you come out, you feel pretty cool for
For 5 minutes.
about 30 seconds.
But if you want to be cool out there, they've got the air-conditioned cabanas, too, which we're going to spend some time in later in the week.
They also have blackjack out there.
They do.
They do?
do they
They
really?
have a casino swim.
Nice.
Look at that.
They also have the giant bar that you can get the frozen daiquiris. We partook in that last summer. I know we watched like the home run derby out there. It's unbelievable. So check it out. And if you're not a swimmer, well, guess what? The casino is fabulous here too. 7,000 square feet, 2 levels of casino, 1,300 slots, 48 gaming tables,
And you could have the biggest thing about this place too is Circa is fantastic and is as elite as any of the premium, strip hotels out there, right? But you're out here on Fremont Street in downtown Vegas, and I'm telling you, folks, the cost. And that is a factor. The cost of things on this side of the strip is far less than the strip itself, probably by at least 30 to 40% based off the Saul Bookman index. Okay, so you got to come out to Circa. It's fantastic.
well, on Fremont Street's worth the price of admission.
That's an
in and
experience.
of
That's a free
itself.
experience right there.
Apparently, the dealers dance too. It says at the. I did not witness
what are
that.
you closing your eyes when you walk through the casino?
Apparently, I have.
They're on pedestals.
So experience everything that
What
they
is this
have
guy?
to
We've been
do
here 3 years.
here at Circa
Never noticed.
when you visit Vegas. And if you're looking for a little cashola for when you're coming out here, our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union want to hook you up with $200 for just going online and starting a checking account. And you know what? You're going to need some place to put all your winnings after you come to Vegas, right?
That's true.
Or to drain while you're here. Mm-hmm. Either way, our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union are going to take care of you. For 84 years, they have been in the Valley, and they want to make your financial goals come true. You want to start a business, they'll help you. You want to buy a home, they'll help you. You want to just save some money in a savings account, a high-yield savings account, they'll help you. They've got everything that you need, and they'll help tailor a solution to you so you can achieve your financial goals and dreams. Like I said, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more from a team of financial experts committed to you and the community here in Arizona. That's one thing I love about them. They do take care of our own in Arizona with the charitable work they do. And like I said, when you open a free checking account online, you're going to get $200 in bonuses. Get started today by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. And as I mentioned, Kevin Durant was on the Kay Adams show yesterday, and an interesting topic came up, one that I think we've all wondered about, but Kay got KD to answer it. I'm not sure if I believed him, though.
Happy I'm running into you like this because I have to ask you how tall you are. How tall are you? Because there's some huge controversy about you being a lot taller than 6'10" with this Team USA photo shoot that happened. Have you seen this?
No, I don't know why I guess those guys might be shorter than what their numbers say. I'm 6'9" though. So it looks like Bam Adebayo is probably 6'8"
Yeah.
instead of 6'10", and AD is probably 6'9", so they probably adding a little more in their height while I'm keeping mine at the same, I'm not lying about my height.
You look just as tall as Embiid, and he's listed at 7 feet. So you're saying those guys are all lying.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Embiid's not 7 feet.
I just thought maybe you're 7'2" and you've been lying this whole time.
Nah.
No.
You seen me before. I look 7'2".
I couldn't tell because you were sitting at the Super Bowl. Now that that's taken care of and the world can rest.
Gerald, you've seen him. Is he 6'9"?
I don't know, man. I feel like at a certain point of 6 foot and above, I lose track. But it is interesting. He's been very adamant about this for a while now.
He's wrong.
He's been.
His official height at the NBA Combine was 6'10" and a quarter. That's not 6'9".
Well, he is getting closer to 40. Maybe
starting to shrink.
Like
I really wonder if he's talking about without shoes, because we keep coming back
they
to this.
measure you without shoes at the Combine.
Yeah.
Combine, not
Combine.
But I feel like
he combined his feet with his shoes.
I don't know what else it could be, because he looks taller than 6'9", and I was looking at what they're listed as on ESPN. KD's listed as 6'11", AD's 6'10", Bam is 6'9", Joel's 7 foot. So kind of interesting. I'm not saying.
Listen, KD. I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just saying that you're not 6'9".
So which is it, man?
Well, I mean, KD wouldn't say the other guys were lying, just that they're not that
No, he just said Joel Embiid is not 7 feet.
Okay,
he's saying there's a clerical error.
he's saying these damn people that put these these heights on rosters are just making shit up, right?
Yeah.
So what do you blame Cole Michelson over at the Suns? Is that who we blame? Is he making up the heights?
Are they going to say his height now when they do player intros?
And now,
6'9" from Texas.
I'll ask Vince. I'll text him after this. We'll find out. Eric in the chat says Zach Edey's actually 5'10", so I bet you didn't know that one.
The camera adds 10 inches.
Sir.
Brian says, I don't want to know.
Got our producer to turn around.
Brian says,
I did think before I spoke. My bad.
You really didn't.
I didn't think before I spoke. The Saul Bookman biography. Brian says,
You write the forward. What are you talking about?
well, I know. We're in the same here. Brian says 6'9" unbothered.
Yeah, there you go.
And then that dude says that Katie Riz. So apparently Shams has a little something.
Little competition.
Yeah, to be concerned about there. I honestly, why would he care? Why should anybody care in terms of that? Like whether they're 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot.
It matters to some
understand.
people.
It does.
But usually it's I want to be taller, not I want to be shorter.
Maybe he listen, my wife hates being tall. So maybe he's one of those people that just do not like the fact that people think that he's tall.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't think 6'9" is going to change anybody's opinion on that, but you know.
well, I always wondered, could it be because once you get into that 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, it's people think you should be a center, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, like, do you want to get pigeonholed in that kind of thing?
That's
with
usually
this
like
kind of
that's
game?
that's usually for like the youth leagues though. Like coaches like, oh, you're tall, play center because they don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you look at Kevin Durant, you're not trying to put him at center when you see him play because no.
I feel like with KD, the way that he talks about it, because he's talked about this, he answered this question with us in a post game in the season at some point. I feel like it's one of those like minor things that grows bigger over time because people keep asking about it and
That's
like
fair.
won't accept it because he's like in year 17, 18 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and we're still talking about how tall is Kevin Durant actually. I feel like at this point he's just kind of like, guys, I've been saying this for a decade. I'm 6'9".
Yeah.
Our
Next year
friend-
he'll be 6'7".
Our friend Lindsey Smith said, someone said one time, Katie said that girls don't like 7-footers, so that's why he doesn't want to be tall.
Oh my god.
I think they like millionaires, though, so I think it evens out in the end there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I want to show something that was discovered here at Circa that I think...
Well, before we get to
is
that.
there more that
No. Before we get to that, I just want to make sure that we kind of set the. So Circa has the largest bar in the world. I think it's in the world. Like it's
Gotta be ranked.
the longest bar in the world.
Longest.
The longest bar in the world. Okay.
Okay.
But they wanted to call it something else, and they couldn't because somebody else had taken that name.
Okay.
But it fits one of our very own, Shane. There it is.
It's the girth bar.
Girth bar.
The girth bar.
I mean,
They spelled it wrong, but it's fine.
I cringe to think who else had that name in
I
Vegas.
I don't want to know
I think
someone
it's where
who's on camera, according to Saul.
What's
the bar adds an extra 10 inches.
It
All
does.
right.
It really does. What's the difference between girth with an I and girth with an E?
Well, the correct way to spell it is with an I, but the way that we've spelled it for my nickname has been Gerth.
it's because I don't know how to
Yeah,
spell.
because of Gerald.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why?
Yeah.
You're-
Oh, look at that.
got Shane to turn around
Shane's
for the
about to
second
get fired
time this show.
for his side eyes.
Forgive Saul for Vegas brain. He's been here since
Been
Monday.
here for 5 days. I
It's
feel like I'm on a damn island right now.
a
Starts
lot.
to happen. Saint Shitbag, our favorite in the chat, wants to know before we get out of here: Gordon Hayward on a vet minimum?
I mean, I feel, look, I need to see what David Roddy does in Summer League first, but I feel like, I'm serious, because like, I feel like a year ago, if you'd asked me that, I would have been like, hell yeah, like, let's bring Hayward on board. He didn't really play much for the Thunder, and that could just be one isolated situation, joining a team midseason, whatever.
He's always injured.
But he's injured a lot too. He might not just have much left in the tank. He could be worth a flyer if Roddy really doesn't show us anything here, but as of right now, I'm kind of like, eh.
I definitely agree. I feel like he's on his last legs in the NBA. It's, hey, sometimes you see the Grim Reaper coming, and you're just like, you're trying to keep it away as much as possible. But it feels like he's coming to the end of his career. So
Yeah, I feel like he'd wind up being very much like Isaiah Thomas was at the end of last year, a name that everybody
vibes guy.
clamors for, but not a guy that's actually going to have an impact. So that is our show for today.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, I mean it was a solid 53 minutes. It wasn't the hour and 10 you guys went yesterday on the couch,
The
but
camera adds 10 minutes.
so we really only went 43. Damn.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
So for Gerald, you can
Listen, Vegas ain't gonna drink itself, so we gotta get going.
it's 3:53. I think we got some time. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow the show at PHNX.
Flex is probably gonna text me right now because he's probably lost.
Flex will be here tomorrow. We'll be live at noon here from Circa, and then you can follow me at Espo. And as our friend Ogre said, Saul learned something today. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.